Hello and welcome back to Evidence Mastery. I'm your host, Dr. Massoud Toussi. We're swimming in health data, right? So why is it still so incredibly difficult to answer the biggest questions in healthcare? Well, today we're going to talk about the solution. It's called the OMOP Common Data Model, and you can think of it as a kind of universal translator for the incredibly complex language of health data. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to dig into the big problem with health data. Then we'll see exactly how OMOP steps in as the solution. We'll look at how it actually tells a patient's story, what it takes to get the data into this format, and wrap up with the massive global impact this is all having. Let's get into it. So let's start at the beginning. What's the real problem here? Why is it so tough to make sense of all this data we're collecting every single day? Really, it boils down to this. Our healthcare data is basically a digital Tower of Babel. We've got all these amazing, life-saving insights just trapped. And why? Because every single system is speaking its own unique language. Think about it. Every single hospital, every clinic, every insurance company, they all log patient info in their own way. They've got their own special codes, their own private formats, and what that does is create these data silos, these islands of information that can't talk to each other. So if you want to run a study across these different systems, oh man, it's a massive one-off project every single time. It's just not efficient, and it's definitely not a sustainable way to do large-scale research. And that right there, that's the exact problem the OMOP Common Data Model was built to fix. The whole goal is to create one common language, a lingua franca, for health data. Here's a really simple way to picture it. Think of OMOP as a universal power adapter. When you travel, you need that little gadget to plug your phone into a foreign outlet. Well, OMOP does the same thing, but for data. It lets all these different health data sets plug into one standard system so they can actually work together. Okay, so let's get a little more formal. The OMOP Common Data Model, we usually just call it the CDM, is an open standard. That means anyone can use it. And its job is to take all that messy, different data we talked about and reshape it, reorganize it into a single, clean format. And when you do that, you suddenly unlock the ability to generate reliable evidence on a huge scale. And this is where the magic really happens. Let's say one hospital system records a myocardial infarction, while a clinic down the street just writes heart attack. To us, they're the same thing, but to a computer, they're completely different. Well, OMOP's standardized vocabulary maps both of those terms to the exact same concept ID. It's this shared dictionary that creates that crucial consistency we need. Okay, so we know it creates a common language, but how does it actually organize everything? Well, it thinks about it like a story, a patient's personal health journey. Right, so instead of just a jumble of disconnected facts, OMOP puts it all together into a logical narrative. The best way to think about it is like chapters in a book. Each chapter, or each table in the model, tells a different part of that person's healthcare story. And you can see here, everything, and I mean everything, revolves around the person. They're at the very center of the model. All the clinical data, conditions, drugs, procedures, it all links directly back to an individual. And then that data connects out to the standard vocabularies we mentioned, to health system info, even to cost data. It builds this incredibly rich 360-degree view of a person's entire journey. So what are some of these chapters? Well, in OMOP, they're called domains, and they capture the really critical stuff. We're talking about tables for condition occurrence, so every diagnosis, drug exposure, every prescription, procedure occurrence, every surgery or test, and of course, measurements and observations. It's the whole story. All right, this all sounds great, right? But how do you actually get that messy, raw data into this beautiful, clean format? Well, it's a journey, but it's a well-defined one. That journey has a name. It's called the ETL process. It stands for extract, transform, and load. Basically, you extract the raw data, you transform it into the OMOP format, and then you load it into the new, clean database. It's the behind-the-scenes work that makes everything else possible. And I have to stress this, a good ETL process is not just a job for a tech wizard. It's a total team effort. You need data experts and OMOP experts to draw up the plans. You absolutely need doctors and nurses, the clinical experts, to make sure the codes are mapped correctly. Then, sure, a technical person writes the code. But finally, the whole team has to circle back to validate everything and make sure the quality is top-notch. Okay, so we've talked about the what and the how. Now for the most important part, the so what. Why does all this matter? Because OMOP isn't just a cool idea. Its adoption has had a massive, real-world impact on health science around the globe. And the engine driving this whole movement is an incredible community called OHDSI. That stands for Observational Health Data Sciences and Informatics. It's this amazing global network of researchers, data scientists, and doctors all committed to open science in a single mission, improving health for everyone through large-scale analytics. And when I say large-scale, I mean it. The scale of this network is just mind-blowing. Right now, the OHSI network includes standardized data for around 800 million patients. Let that sink in. 800 million patient journeys, all speaking the same language. This creates a pool of data so massive, it gives us the statistical power to answer questions we could have only dreamed of before. And this isn't just one or two countries. We're talking about a truly global collaboration. There are collaborators in 74 different countries, all using the same data model, all running the same analyses, all contributing to a single, shared body of scientific evidence. It's incredible. You know, this didn't happen overnight. The whole idea for OMOP actually started back in 2008 with funding from the US FDA to study drug safety. But things really took off in 2014. That's when OHDSI was formed, and they decided to adopt the OMOP CDM as their gold standard. That was the moment it went from being a useful tool to a global movement. And the benefits really ripple out to everyone who touches this data. If you're a data engineer, you finally have a clear, predictable target to aim for. No more guesswork. If you're a researcher, this is a game changer. You can write your analysis code once and run it on dozens of different data sets around the world. And for the folks in AI, they get a clean, standardized foundation to build and train the next generation of life-saving machine learning models. So, at the end of the day, this is about so much more than just a clever data structure. The OMOP CDM is a framework. It's a foundation that lets us do ethical, real-world big data research in a way that's powerful and, just as importantly, trustworthy. And that really leaves us with an exciting question, doesn't it? Now that we actually have this common language for health data, what are the big global challenges, the ones that seemed impossible before, that we can finally start to solve together? Thank you so much for joining me today on Evidence Mastery. If you want to go even deeper on this and other related topics, I hope you'll check out my upcoming book, Real World Data, Sources and Solutions. It'll be available on Amazon.com in December 2026. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.